It's January in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where 18 Major League Soccer teams make their annual pilgrimage to finalize player evaluations before the SuperDraft. For the expansion Portland Timbers and Vancouver Whitecaps FC, the upcoming draft was just one part of building a roster.
It's been a real exciting time for the club when you look at all the moving parts and all the moving pieces from the expansion draft, adding guys through the Division II season to the SuperDraft, exploring, the world's a global game, and exploring all the players globally to make sure you're getting the right pieces, and all of which fit into the dynamics of what your organization wants to be about.
I think the first step was just identifying the best players that we wanted from the group last year, and with those, obviously, we took some core players that we felt would be good for the organization, good for the team, and had the right mentality. The
expansion draft, I think, was probably our most exciting time, as there were a lot of working pieces on both sides for Portland and ourselves.
And then it starts to look at the expansion draft. That was the next one that we went through, and we identified Rodney Wallace as a player that we felt would be very, very good for us. And then we took the other players in the expansion.
I think our philosophy was to make sure we built a team that was set from the back and moved forward from there. Having said that, going into this draft, my experience, we're looking to draft the best available, and I'm not concerned so much positionally.
Now it's plugging the gaps and starting to look at what else we need. We need another central midfielder that we're hoping to pick up maybe out of this SuperDraft. We also need another forward, another right midfielder. And I think whenever you see a quality player, you're willing to make room for them. So, it's been a process, and it's one that we think we're winning in, but only time will tell.
Right in between Portland and Vancouver on the map, but far ahead at this point in the progress of their franchise, Seattle Sounders FC have made a sizable impact on MLS in just 2 seasons. Technical director Chris Henderson and the rest of the Seattle staff arrived in Florida with much of their homework already done.
Throughout the college season, we'd be in touch with college coaches, really with the work Kurt Schmidt has done. Him and I have gone all over the country. We watched all the conference tournaments. Towards the end of the season, we sent the rest of our staff out to watch players.
Most everybody scouts beforehand and have a good idea of what you want, and maybe use this exercise to confirm the last little pieces, or meeting with the individual and get a character check along with it.
It's going to be exciting for them having the top 2 picks, and they're going to have some pretty good offers coming their way that they're really going to have to think about. Do we make a trade, or do we take the guy at 1 or 2? It's
an exciting time for us because we're obviously looking to pick some players that can be benchmarks for our cornerstones for our organization for years to come.
We're looking at different teams, what their needs may be, whether it's allocation money, whether we would like to acquire a pick in the first round, and that's something that we're considering.
Well, I think we're in a much better position than others because I get to listen to what's coming in instead of having to go out and look for it. Different opportunities are going to present themselves, and us as a group will collaborate and make sure we do something that we feel is best for the organization.
There's a lot of talk at the moment. I think there'll be even more as we start to see performances, and as one team reacts, you'll find another reacts to it, to what they do to continue to try and build the ultimate team.
In order to build the ultimate team, both expansion sides were looking to find the ultimate player in the draft pool. 2 names in particular seem to be on the lips of every technical director, coach, and media member entering the Combine.
So one would be Perry Kitchen, and we love his leadership. He could be a franchise player for 10 to 15 years. He has those sorts of attributes about him.
While he's young and a freshman, his leadership qualities, seen by being the captain of the U20s, that's a unique quality, and those guys are rare to find, especially at a young age like that.
Then you've got Nagby, and you can't help but love the way that he plays. He has moments which are beyond his years. We're looking for a wide right player that can play up front, that can play in the middle of the park, and here's a player that lends himself to all of those positions based on what the team's needs are.
His unique ability to hold the ball and set guys up, and still has the ability to score.
We want to come out of this with a quality player, and we like those too.
We feel it's a deep draft. We're happy to have 2 first-round picks. Feeling even that at the A spot, we're going to get someone that can be a real asset to us.
This year we ended up with 3 picks in the 20s, so you have to look at that depth.
Now it gets tricky is the latter picks, where the 19 And in our third round pick, you make sure now that you're looking for the diamonds in the rough, and that becomes a little bit harder. And I think you use this time to really find those little pieces that potentially could turn into good players.
We obviously have done our homework, and we'll continue to do our homework, and then it's based on what we get with that number 2 pick, whether that fills a need that we have, and that will ultimately affect who we take in the second round. And then it's affected again with our 3rd pick. Now, one of those we may end up trading.
Competitors at the top of the draft board, Vancouver and Portland, were also preparing to join Seattle in the competition for supremacy in the Pacific Northwest, a battle by no means limited to the playing field.
Seattle set the bar pretty high coming in, not just with the team, but the attendance, and we've got a lot of things to live up to in that regard, but ultimately answer yourself and make sure that you don't feel like you've been outworked, and you make sure you check every avenue and under every rock to make sure you're building the best team possible.
It already has been big for the last 35 years, and you know, now it's all major league, and I think that you know, the fans are excited about it. You know, we want to win the Cascadia Cup between these 3 teams, and I'm sure they want to do the same.
I think that the 3 teams in the Northwest will be a great rivalry. We do keep an eye on Vancouver. It's hard not to measure yourselves against them, and it's probably hard for them not to do the same. We look at Seattle, and it hurts me to say it, but they've done a tremendous job.
We've worked together with Vancouver and Portland the last year and a half. You know, all kinds of questions about, hey, when you put your facility in, what did you add? And trying to help each other, I think, along the way. But now that their staffs are in, you can feel that it's going to be competitive. Finishing
higher in the league table, finishing with as many points as possible, winning the whole thing, that's the ultimate goal. And I think after that becomes the rivalry. And it's an intense rivalry. It's one that I think will serve the league extremely well in the game in this country. And when you start to look at the amount of energy around the game in the Northwest relative to the 3 MLS teams, it really is exciting.
As Portland, Seattle, Vancouver, and 15 other teams prepared for the start of action in Fort Lauderdale, one thing remained clear. The winners and losers of this year's draft wouldn't be determined for some time.
I think when you look back on it, we won't know in a week, we won't know in 2 weeks. We'll obviously be extremely excited with who we get. We have an idea of who we want, and if we can get them, it'll be fantastic for us, the player and the organization. But I think when we walk away from here, we'll feel happy knowing that we have a player that we can work with and a player that we believe right then can contribute. But at the end of the day, we won't know that until the end of the season.
You always leave satisfied. I think even the expansion draft, you leave satisfied, but you have to take everything in stride and look, I think, a year from the time that you did it to see if it worked. So it's easy to get excited, but you also have to temper that and know that, you know, it's not a perfect science, and you hope you check off enough boxes that you're successful with your selections. And it's, like I said, it's an exciting time. We're obviously looking to build an important thing from year one, and then get out running, not walking. We want to make sure we make an impact right away, and some of these guys will have a direct impact in that.
On the next episode of Inside the SuperDraft, the Combine is underway, and the coaches are taking notice.
Had a look at some of the players, and you can hear the verbals and the communication from player to player.
Vancouver zeroes in on a positional need.
There are some strikers here. We've been looking for strikers.
And the Sounders try to find that diamond in the rough.
That guy might work out great for you and you're going to be super excited and people think you're a genius, or the guy might bomb completely.
Next time on Inside the SuperDraft.